called? A ventilator?
Oh, a photographer shot some pictures of me at a point where he was using a ventilation fan. It looked like the band Nightwish. Do you know Nightwish? Yeah. They always have like videos where their hair is flying all about. Yeah, it was kind of fun. Oh, I see. I have to quit Photoshop. 1 second. Dun, 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 dun. Hello, this is Andreas. This is a recording about how to extract hair in Photoshop. Bringing you live from Sofiendalsvej in Aalborg. Yeah. I'm here with 4 students. I don't know where everyone else is, but I think it's sunny outside, so perhaps that's where they are. Yes, indeed.
One of the last sunny days. So.
Is it one of the last sunny days? Oh, isn't it first on Friday? Unless the weatherman changed his opinion about stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah. Perhaps I'll... Have you seen that they have a discount on everything down in Fona? The shop Fona, they have discount on everything.
What do they sell?
They used to sell all kinds of electronical items, but they've had discount for a lot of weeks now, and each week it becomes 10% more discount. I think now it's around 60% discount.
Nice.
There's old phones like this, with no one bought those, so I think I'll go down.
Nokia.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I think I'll go down there in like 2 weeks and see if they still have phones like this, because then it will be 80% discount, and they only cost like 279 crowns already. So you'll be able to buy a phone like this for like 40 crowns if they're still there. So then I'll just buy 10.
Exactly.
Fona is by selling.
Yeah.
Okay, I will go there today.
Yeah, cool.
We went there before 2 weeks. And it was not.
Ah, okay.
But if you want, you can go.
Check out all my files. Kai. That's, a really old school name in Denmark. That's something old people are named. That's what I name my files. Okay, so here we'll open the picture. We already tried working with this picture on first semester, where we used refine edge on this picture. Do you remember that on first semester? Have you ever seen this picture before?
I think not.
Oh, so perhaps we were using some other picture. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Okay, fine. If she doesn't seem familiar, that's okay. But I'm quite sure we had a file where we were trying to remove the background from some hair.
Yeah, we did.
Perhaps it was another file then. But this time I'm going to show you a new way of extracting hair. There are 3 ways of extracting hair that are really good. There's refine edge. That's what you learned on first semester. Then there's extracting hair by using channels, which is a panel located next to layers. And the last way of doing it, which are the 3 professional ways of doing it, is through something called image calculations. I'm not going to teach you how to do it by calculations, because that's a rather long process to show you. So if you want to really get in depth with how to do it with multi-channels, that's by using several channels instead of just one. We'll be using 1 channel today. If you want to get an even more detailed extraction of hair, you would be using calculations. That's the best way of doing it, but it is the one that takes the longest time as well. So it depends on the detail level you want for your extraction. And sometimes it's almost impossible to do it with refine edge and with channels if you're only using one, and thus you can only do it by calculations. So I suggest you write a note somewhere on your computer, or if you're still using a pencil, write it on paper. Check out videos about calculations. How to extract hair by using calculation. Sometimes people also, if you search on YouTube for videos, or even better if you have lynda.com, sometimes extraction will not be the right word to search for. Sometimes it will be better to write in the search field masking hair, and then write calculations. Okay, so masking, like a mask you wear, an evil mask you wear. You know, it's Friday the 13th in 2 days,
Yeah.
so people are gonna die. Yeah. There's a Friday the 13th celebration at Platform 4, Metal Night. Yeah. And
That's
people
cool.
can win alcohol if they dress very horror-like, you know. Yeah. I foresee a night of terror. Yes. Okay, so let's get on with this. So the people actually watching this video will think, is he ever gonna start this tutorial? Well,
But you
no.
can cut out this piece.
No, I'm not gonna remove any part of it. You know, I don't want to use extra time doing that. So people, if they hadn't shown up, they just have to suffer. Okay, so let's do this. This is a picture, and we're gonna use what is named the panel which is named channels. But we'll first take a copy of the background. So you can just do that by saying Command J. That way we won't damage the original if we do anything wrong at any point. Then we'll switch over to using channels, and inside the channels panel, if you messed up your Photoshop, you can always find channels up in Windows. Not Windows, but window. Yes, and in here we're supposed to make a calculation from using our logical sense about which channel has the most contrast between the background and the hair. So the blue in the background and the hair. Just ignore that there's some random stuff down here at the bottom. Just check out the contrast between the air, the blue air, and I know that air is not blue, but okay. Well, we could talk about chemically why does air seem blue, and we're not going to do that. Well, we could. No, we can't. And the hair. So we can click on a channel and see how much contrast there is in it. You'll see a channel in black and white. And so if I click on the different channels one by one, you'll notice that some of them will probably have more contrast between the hair and the background than others. Especially the red one is bad with contrast. If you check this one out, the sky will seem as if it's gray and not white, and the hair will seem as if it's not as dark as it would be, for example, in the blue channel. You'll see here the hair is, especially in this area, very dark compared to the red channel. So what we're going to do is estimate which channel has most contrast, and we can quite quickly just cut out the red channel. The red does not have that much contrast between hair and air, but green and blue have particularly much contrast between hair and background. So here we just have to use our common sense. The sky seems blue. Okay, so we're going to use the blue channel. But in some cases, if you were out swimming, or if you were at somewhere close to equator, is that what's its name in English? Ecuador? No, that's a country.
But
Is it named equator in English?
I'm not sure, but I think We all know what it means.
Yeah, okay, cool. But in some areas of the world, the sky will seem more like it's more reddish or sometimes more greenish. Depends on where you're in the country or if the sun is setting or rising or whatever. Yeah, okay, cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so the blue channel, we estimate that this is the one with most contrast. Then we're going to take a copy of it. We're going to right click it just out next to the text. We're going to right click it and say duplicate channel to get a copy of it. And if you want, you can name it something. I'm just going to stick with blue copy, that's fine. This is the only one you're allowed to edit. You're not allowed to edit blue, green, red, or RGB for that sake. So we're going to be editing blue copy. I'm going to click on blue copy, and if there's still a visibility of the blue channel, we'll just switch that off so it's only the blue copy which is visible. It's sometimes nice to switch on one of these other channels just to see if we're doing things right. I'll get into that in a second. But right now we're only having blue copy switched on. And this one active as well. Then we're going to use a brush and we're going to set it to 100% opacity, 100% flow, mode set to normal, and we're using a round brush. Normally I would actually be using my vacuum tablet, but I forgot to bring it. But it's definitely faster to use a vacuum tablet, and it's more precise, especially when we have to draw the shoulders up with the color black. What we're going to do now is we're going to draw everything. Whoops, I was too fast. Before we start drawing anything, we're just going to add more contrast between the dark areas and the light areas. So we're going to go into levels. That's image adjustment levels, or Command L. And here we'll see how much white and black is in the picture. Oh, I accidentally painted her in the face. That's okay. She's gonna get a face that's totally black anyways. So, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust these handles. In general, you would always adjust them so that there's a maximum difference. No, so not difference, but so the maximum they go in on this bar is 1/4. So if, let's say, you divide this in fourths, you would never draw these, put these handles longer in than around 1/4 in, because then the contrast becomes too high. So approximately 25% in with the black handle and 25% in with the white handle. That's the maximum. Sometimes you would not put it that far in. When it comes to the gray handle in the center, it depends on the picture. Sometimes you'll draw it left, put it left, and sometimes you'll put it a bit right. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So we're gonna put them in, and we'll be just zooming into the strain of hair to see what's actually happening when I adjust these handles inside of levels. If you don't remember how to zoom while you're inside of a dialog box, you can just hold down Alt and then scroll with the mouse, roll, whatever, the thingy on the mouse. And you can zoom in and out. And if you hold down the space bar, you can, scroll around on your picture. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is, are we able to see the fine gray pixels that are between the air and the hair? Oh, that's a rhyme, Okay. And I can see that we can still see some of the grayness, and we want that because that's actually if we remove them entirely, it's gonna seem like her hair is dreadlocks. You know, that they're very hard edges. So we want the edges not to become too rough, but on the other hand, we don't want them to become. We don't want them to be too visible as well, because then they'll probably have some of the blueness from the sky in them. So we're gonna try just adjusting these a bit. What I'm saying is, you don't want it to seem like pixels at the edge. You don't want it to be too rough. So, and it's, you know, it's a matter of trying this sometimes, and then you'll start noticing what to look for. But it's just, don't make them too rough, but don't be afraid to add contrast. So, okay, so I'm gonna adjust the gray one at the center, and it seems like in this case it gets better if I'm pulling it towards the right. You know, I'm darkening some of the strands of hair. But really, look out, don't pull it too far, because again, then it will become pixelated. So I'm probably just gonna stick with like 0.9 or 0.8-ish. That's fine. Okay, that's the first thing to do. Step 1 completed. Yeah. Next step is to paint her face black. So we'll just with our brush start painting her face black. It's easy. It will be easiest if you use a big brush. And I'll just check my hardness. Perhaps I'll readjust my hardness to somewhere about 90 or 95%, because in some areas, you know, I want to be sure that it has quite rough edge, because I don't want it. Yeah, you know, if I'm drawing with a very low hardness, I don't know if you can see it, that when I'm trying to reach the edge, it actually draws some more grayness inside of this area. Remember, down here by the hand, it's actually air that is between the fingers, so we definitely don't want that part black, because then we'll keep some of the sky, and we don't want that. We want to remove the sky. The sky is our enemy. Yes. So I'm just gonna try going really close to this edge, and then perhaps stop, not going all the way out. You saw I actually left a few pixels by the edge that I'm not painting, because then otherwise it will become very synthetic. Gonna zoom out again. Gonna remove her finger. Sorry, that's what happens. And just you don't want any pixels that are white or gray inside of her face, because that will become holes inside of her face. So everything black we will keep, everything white will be removed, everything that's gray will become transparent. Whoa! When you get to the edge, it's kind of like stop when you're really close to the edge. You don't want to paint this part of the edge, because then it will look like there's pudding on her head, you know. So we're gonna try going close to the edge, then we're gonna use a different brush for actually painting all the way out to the edge afterwards. Whoop. I think I can take that one as well, perhaps this one. Okay, you know, her shirt should be black, not white, because if you paint it white, even though it's white now, you think, okay, then I'll paint it white. No, paint it black, because otherwise, oh, that's a great Rolling Stones, yeah. But if you don't paint it black, she'll be missing that part of her body, you know. She'll have a hole where the shirt was. So that's not gonna be good. So here we're gonna, without our vacuum pen tablet, we're gonna try actually painting her shoulder black. And if you're using your tracking pad instead of a mouse, this is gonna be kind of rough to get it right. I'm just gonna do it in segments, just piece by piece, just to be sure that I'm doing it precisely. No! Damn it! Okay, I can do it. It doesn't matter. I can do it. I can fix that with a history brush later. Actually, I can also, if I'm unhappy that I did something wrong, I could actually switch on one of the other channels and see, oh damn, where did her shoulder end? And by switching on one of the other channels, you'll be able to see. Yeah, it's hard to see on the screen, but you'll be able to see. Perhaps if you drew outside your area, you can see it on your screen. It's hard to see on the projection up here, but it should be you should be able to see it on the recording that I'm handing out. So by switching on some of these channels, perhaps you'll be able to see where the, oh, here you can perhaps see it. You can, yeah, the projection is bad, but here you should be able to see, okay, it's kind of like there's something going outside here. Okay, then you could paint that area white. Just remember, you know, I'm switching on the visibility of blue and perhaps red, but I'm still, the only channel active is blue copy. If I accidentally activate blue or red, it's gonna be painting on those and it's gonna be destroying your picture. And then you'll be unhappy and you'll cry and you'll have nightmares. Yeah, that's bad. So don't do that. So I'm just gonna try painting it. Okay, and whenever you think, I think I got it, you know, and oh, sorry, I'm saying sorry to her. Then you can switch off the visibility of these other channels again. Boom, boom. That didn't become much better, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so I'll continue painting her black. And if you wanted to, if you're like a girl or a guy who shakes your hand is shaking all the time, perhaps because you haven't had, perhaps you're an alcoholic and you have, you know, these abstinence cravings, and you haven't got whatever, and you're shaking a lot, so you cannot draw what you're supposed to draw. So then you could use selection tools, you know, so that would be easier just to use a selection tool, just to you quick select the area outside of the shoulder and then just make it white, you know. But I'm not shaking my hands because I'm a non-shaking guy. I could be a surgeon if I wanted to, you know. I could. I'm quite positive I could. But you know, I would probably be a bad surgeon because, yeah.
On Mondays.
On Mondays, yeah. I would probably more be thinking about making an artwork out of the person, you know, so that. Okay, so painted black everywhere inside of her. That seems like a weird statement, but okay. Make it black. When you're done painting her black, oh yeah, also paint this. You see that there's some hair right here. This is hair, even though it's white or very light, it needs to be black, you know, because it's you cannot see the sky through this. This is a thick cluster of hair, if you can use that word about hair. So that needs to be black as well, but only draw it to the edges. Only draw it to the edges. Because I'm talking, it seems like this is something that takes a lot of time, but I've done it with exactly this picture and tried seeing how long it takes to paint it all black and paint it all white and so on. And it only took actually from start of this assignment till end 5 minutes. So it's just because I'm talking a lot and saying a lot of weird stuff as well that it actually takes time. This is, here you need to get it right. So if you don't get this line right, it's a good idea to click undo. You don't have to get it 100% correct, but get it fairly right. Yeah. Oh yeah, and by the way, some of you might notice that your brush is kind of like making these bumps. You see, if I draw out here, you'll notice that mine is not making bumps, but perhaps you're using a different brush than me, so it's making all these weird bumps when you draw with the brush. Then just switch to using the third brush. You know, there's 3 hard brushes. Switch to using the third brush and perhaps set the hardness down a bit, and then you won't get these bumps. And that's actually something to do with the brush's flow, the flow of the brush, settings that you can adjust inside of the brush panel. You don't have to do it if you're using the third brush, but you can adjust the flow of the brush by adjusting this one called spacing. But you don't have to do that. If you select the third brush, it will be okay. Everything will be good. Okay, so I think we're about done with the black brush. Black brush. There's just a bit more down here. If you're in doubt about if something is hair or not hair, then just switch on one of the other channels, then you should be able to see it. Okay, so next off we use the white to paint the background out here, white. And like before, don't get too close to the edges of hair when drawing with this white brush. Oh man, her shoulder is really getting damaged. There are some small amounts of hair right here. Just ignore those. But don't go all the way into the area right here where you see the thick parts of hair. And inside this area, I'll try to avoid going into, again, the areas where there's a lot of hair. Whoops, that's too much. This is much faster with a vacuum pen tablet or an Apple Pencil on your iPad Pro. Okay, so do you need like a few seconds to paint the rest white or black, or are you actually at approximately the same point as I am? Almost same. Okay. So next part is you need 30 more seconds. Okay. So then I can be entertaining the people watching the video. This is a fruit. You can eat it. It's true. And it tastes quite good if you're into this shit. L'Oreal, because you're worth it. Yeah. Are you ready? Okay. We continue using the brush, but now we need to, get these areas where there's hair, which gray behind the hair, or if there's hair which is too light and not dark. We need to use the brush again, but this time we'll set the brush to use a different blend mode. The mode of a brush is set up in the control menu. So up in the control menu right here, when we're using a brush, it will say mode normal. We'll switch it from mode normal to mode overlay. Overlay. There's two spots on this picture where we'll use the color black with overlay. So I'm just going to do that immediately. I'm going to use the black overlay immediately. I'm going to switch down the opacity. And in general, when you're working with edges of hair, you need to have a quite low opacity and be using the overlay brush mode. So I'm probably going to take an opacity of 30%. You could also instead be using a really low flow. I don't care. Just either really low flow or low opacity. And the hardness in here can be set to anything from 80% to 95%. Just the same as before, not a hardness of like very low value, because then suddenly you're painting areas outside of where you want to be painting. So, but still not too hard, because then it will become grainy at the edge, pixelated at the edge kind of. So perhaps 90% is okay, perhaps 85% is okay, just as long as it's between 80 and 95%. Okay, so see what happens. I'm just gonna take a big brush and you can see immediately what's happening. Can you see the edges right now? When I'm painting right here, the edges will become darker towards the edges, but it will not paint outside the edges. Yay! Do not do this too many times, because what it is actually doing is it's adding contrast. So it's taking the gray tones and making those gray tones darker. If they were already dark, if they were not dark already, nothing will happen to them. But you see, if you're making gray tones even darker than they are already, you're actually intensifying the pixels to look more and more visible. So don't use it too many times in an area. So be careful, because you will be able to notice it if you do it too much when we make the extraction. That's the one area up here that you need to do it up here by the edge of the skull. Whatever. And then there's some part down here as well. Down here. And if you're uncertain about what is what, again, you can switch on one of the other channels, the visibility of one of the channels, just to watch what you're doing. I think I'll kind of do it like that. Okay, so that's the only areas where we need to use the black brush. And remember, the black brush is making things visible. Black is what we keep, white is what we remove. So black is actually dangerous because you might actually add some of the blue pixels at the edges with the black brush. White, on the other hand, you are removing stuff at the edges. So white is more safe when it comes to removing background. So in general, you'll stick to using the white brush mostly. And you see what happens if I start painting over this hair area is that as long as I don't go too many times over it, it will keep that one hair sticking out by the shoulder, but it will become smaller and smaller, this hair, because I'm taking the edges and making those wider and whiter. And if you keep on doing it constantly, at some point the hair will just disappear. And I'll just do it some more right here. And some more over here. Perhaps make my brush smaller. Smaller. Oh, there is actually, perhaps I should have used the dark brush a bit down here. I'm just going to switch to black and use it down here. Down here, try not to touch the darkest strands of hair with the white brush. So try to use a very small brush to get inside of the corners without touching the black strands of hair too much. Yeah. And it's okay that you remove some of the small strands of hair, those that are like floating in between the others. If you suddenly cannot see your brush anymore, perhaps you made it too small, or perhaps you by accident clicked the caps lock key, then you won't be able to see actually your brush. It will just be a crosshair. La 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 la. Andreas is singing on the recording. And yeah, he is actually a teacher. Why did they appoint him teacher? He is crazy. Yes. La 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 la. And you might think, I would rather just use a higher opacity when doing this. Stick to using a low opacity. It's much more safe and you will get a better result if you're using a lower opacity. La 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 la. Bum bum bum. I think that's about fine. Okay. When I'm done with the overall brightening up of stuff, I'll just make one crazy big brush. No, not a crazy big brush, but a fairly big brush, which is a bit crazy. And with a low opacity, I'm just gonna go through every part of her, every part of her, just brightening up all the edges, just one time. Just one time. That's just removing any excess blue pixels that could be still surviving at the edges. It's just one time, and I'm only using an opacity of 30%, and still the same type of brush as before, with a hardness of perhaps 85%. Just moving across all the edges of the entire picture, just to remove any excess blue pixels that could be surviving at the edges, living in the darkness of the edges of the hair. Yeah. Do you need like a minute to complete this, or are we at the same point? You want one more minute, or you're ready? You're ready? Everyone is ready. Yes. Okay, so next point is we switch on the RGB channel. That will automatically switch off the blue copy, like that. Before we go to layers, we're gonna hold down Command if we're on a Mac. We're gonna hold down Control if we're on a PC, and then we're gonna click the channel thumbnail, the small icon by blue copy. It's important that it's the small picture you see besides blue copy. So hold down Command on Mac and click this icon. On PC, hold down Control and click this icon. And then you'll get a selection. This selection is the one we'll be using either to make a mask or to make an extraction. Okay, and naturally, now we go to layers, so we're ready to delete. Before deleting anything, I'll switch off the visibility of my background, because otherwise when I delete I can't see anything is happening. So I'll switch off the visibility of my background, except if I forgot to make a copy of the background, then I won't switch off the visibility. Okay, so then now there's two ways of doing this. You can either make a layer mask, which is clicking this small icon down here, add a layer mask. That will make a mask that makes the extraction. Right now it's kind of like, whoops, it was the opposite I needed to make a mask of. So of course you'll say select inverse first, and then again click the icon down in layers, add layer mask. And this, the background is removed. Yeah. And for some of you, it's a good extraction. For others, it's a crappy extraction. Yes. And that's if you did something wrong throughout this process. Then it will. You're kind of like smiling. Did it become very bad at your computer?
Yeah.
Well, it's good that I'm making this video then. You are not patient enough? Okay. Okay. It happens. Especially if the sun is shining. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's one way of doing it. You know, the cool thing about using a layer mask is that if you paint with black, whoops, now I'm gonna switch back, of course, the mode of my brush to normal, so it's not on overlay. I'm gonna switch the opacity back to 100%, and you see, okay, so if I'm painting with black on a mask, it's actually extracting parts of the picture. If I'm painting with white on a mask, it's actually giving you back parts of the picture again. So that makes it and a non-destructive layer suddenly, because you can always add parts, but you can always remove parts as well of the original picture by just painting with white and black. One thing you need to remember is to click once on the mask in order to work with it. If you accidentally have the picture clicked instead, then you're actually painting her black in the face. No, that's not good. Well, for some people it could be good too. For example, if you're going to a horror night, perhaps then you want it to be black in your face, and perhaps then you want it to look very evil. Yes. Okay, so but I don't want to be using a mask because, you know, I have an extra copy of my I have the background still. So instead I'm just deleting the background here, because I can always use the history brush tool in order to get back what was once mine. Yes. So I'm gonna click undo till I'm back where I before I made the mask, and naturally undo one more time because I remember I inverted it. So, and then I'll just click backspace. Click your delete key on your keyboard and it will delete the background. Okay, so some parts are missing of her now. For example, her shoulder down here. And you can paint those up again, those parts up again with history brush tool. And so I could just start redrawing them. And of course I'll check the hardness. If it's a shoulder, it would be a hardness of approximately 95%. Perhaps 90 to 95%, I would say. And okay, so you can draw it either bad or you can draw it good. Doesn't matter, because you can always use an eraser. Set the same settings here, like 90 to 95%, and then you can start erasing if you drew out too much. And I see that I'm using a wrong brush for my eraser. It was making those bumps. Are you going to Carnival, any of you? Aalborg Carnival? Amsterdam, okay. To buy tulips?
Yeah. I love flowers.
You know, it's kind of weird because it's the only airport I've been in around the world where they actually sell you tulip seeds in the airport. That's like, yeah, I want to go home and grow some tulips. Yeah, you know, a lot of times when you go to other countries, you land, middle land, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then taking a flight to, okay. Do you have family in Amsterdam?
No, but I wish.
It's a nice place.
Yeah, I haven't been yet, so.
I haven't either, but I have a lot of friends who've been there, and they've been telling me nice things about it.
Yeah.
Belgium should be cool as well, but it's so expensive in Belgium.
Belgium?
Yeah. But it should be very nice in Belgium, but it's just too expensive, people tell me. But really old school buildings and so on.
Chocolate.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next part you could do is actually checking out, does this extraction work? I'm going to be putting on a background in order to see, because right now on a transparent background it always looks nice, except if you did it really crappy. Yeah. So I'll be making a new layer right now. I'm making a new layer, and I'm just putting it below layer number 1, the copy of the background. I'm putting it below the layer, and I'm gonna add some color to it. You know, the original color was light blue, And you know the contrast color to blue is orange. That's the opposition of blue. So if we, and then you'll even better, it will be even easier to see if there's blue pixels remaining if you take the contrast color of the original background color. So I'm going to select some orange color. I selected orange, and I'm going to fill this layer 2 with orange. Since orange is in my foreground color, can anyone tell me how I'll fill this layer up with my foreground color? Control backspace. Nothing happened. Oh, yeah, it's on a PC. It's because you're on a PC. So what you're saying is that it's command backspace, but that will actually fill it with black instead.
Alt.
Yes, Alt.
I never know it, so I write one. Okay, no, it's the other one.
Yeah, and you see, whoa! I can actually. It seems like I cannot see any blue pixels, but for some of you, you will be able to see some blue pixels. It might still seem as if the edges are somewhat appearing to have a light edge to them. You can see that they are standing out somehow at the edges. You have to remember this is the worst case scenario. We're putting it against the opposite color of what it was originally. So this is kind of like the worst case scenario you could be placed in when it comes to hair. But it's also nice because then we can see that we can actually make a picture work on the opposite color background if we do it right. But there are still some points of the edges which seem a bit too bright at the edges. Seems somehow like there is parts of the original blue remaining. In order to remove them, we go to Layer Matting and we say remove the white. Layer Matting, remove the white matte. I think that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure, you know. It's not a word I hear English people saying a lot of times. And nothing happened. You know why? Can anyone tell me why nothing happened? I'm trying to remove some bright edges.
Because you're on the layer where you don't.
Yeah, because I'm on the wrong layer, of course. So I'm just gonna go to the right layer, say Layer Matting, remove white matte. And then you'll notice all the bright edges disappear. And you get hair that appears nice and fine towards the background. Excellent! We nailed that sucker. Yeah. This is a much more detailed way and much more exact and precise way of removing background when it comes to pictures with a lot of hair than using Refine Edge. It will give you better results, but it will take you a bit more time, of course, than Refine Edge. But like I said before, I've done this picture before and I completed it in 5 minutes, so it's not like it takes forever. Yes. Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for watching.